The story opens on a stone bridge, where a prince breaks his fiancée's heart. He tells Lady Lupina he wants to end their engagement. He confesses he doesn't love her, apologizing for being selfish. For Lupina, this is a familiar scene, a boring play she's seen before. She thinks to herself that his words shouldn't hurt anymore, but they always do. Again and again. This is the story of the villainess, doomed to a cycle of pain. A week after the breakup, her life always ends in a carriage crash. Then she wakes up, right back where she started. At first, she tried telling everyone about the loops. It only made everything worse. So this time, as the prince apologizes, she forces a gentle smile. She tells him she understands and wishes him happiness. He looks down, overcome with guilt, whispering that he's sorry. As she leaves, she thinks of her family, all made unhappy by her existence. Her father, who wanted her sent to a monastery. Her grandfather, who had lost his will to live. And her loyal maid, Aisha, gone too soon. Lupina feels herself falling into darkness, certain this is her hell. But as she waits for time to reset, something feels different. A desperate voice cries out, begging Lupina to save him. She jolts awake in bed, her heart pounding with confusion. A maid enters, pulling back the curtains with a cheerful, "Good morning." Lupina stares in disbelief. It's Aisha. But Aisha, she died. A tear wells in Lupina's eye. She looks down at her own hands. They are small and childlike. A horrifying realization washes over her. She has returned, not a week, but years into the past. She's a child again. The maid happily reminds her of a playdate with her cousin, Alan. Lupina freezes. Alan. And this time, he's still alive. The memory comes rushing back, a day she tried so hard to forget. She met her baby cousin, so excited to be a big sister. Wanting to be kind, she fed him a cookie with honey. She didn't know it was poison to an infant. Soon after, Alan fell ill and passed away. Everyone looked for someone to blame, and their whispers followed her. Her entire life had been miserable ever since, but now she has a chance to change it all. She clenches her small fists, a fire igniting in her eyes. Her first mission is clear: save Alan and rewrite her miserable future. She brings the spoon to her own lips. With a strange resolve, she tastes Alan's baby food. She chews for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she takes a long drink from her cup to wash it down. A bitter taste floods her mouth. Her face twists in disgust. This isn't just bland. It's actively awful. She wonders if her own palate is simply off. Maybe it was all the sweets she ate earlier. The thought sends a chill down her spine. Her mind flashes back to the original day of the incident. She hears a woman's cold, confident voice. The voice states that it's forbidden to give honey to babies. A younger version of herself looks on, horrified. A finger points at her, the accusation sharp. "But you gave it to him, didn't you?" Her younger self cries, insisting she did nothing. A man smirks from the side, asking if she's sure. The memory fills her with a phantom rage. The scene is interrupted by a soft voice in the present. Her maid, Aisha, has returned to the room. She thanks Lupina for waiting, a gentle smile on her face. But beyond her, in the main room, something is wrong. The Countess is holding Alan, who is crying and fussing. He squirms unhappily in the woman's arms. Aisha calmly holds up a small, patterned ribbon. She remarks that the baby doesn't seem to like it. Her eyes are cold, her smile a little too knowing. She smirks, adding that boys can be so sensitive. The Countess looks on, completely baffled by the situation. For Lupina, everything clicks into place. The bitter food, the honey, the crying baby, and now this ribbon. It was the final piece. Her eyes widen in dawning horror. The scene dissolves into another, more painful memory. Her mother, pale and unsteady, leans against her. She whispers that she feels sick, her head pounding. Her mother's face is slick with a cold sweat. She weakly asks Lupina to please call her aunt. A wave of dizziness washes over her. Lupina screams as her mother's body goes limp. She watches her collapse, helpless, as the world falls apart. A maid screams as the young lady collapses in her arms. A searing pain rips through the lady's body. It hurts. It's burning. She thinks to herself that she's returned to the past, only to die here all over again. She would rather die for good than keep repeating this nightmare. A warm hand suddenly touches her cheek. The touch is gentle, comforting. Her eyes flutter open, looking down at the source. A familiar voice calls her name, thick with tears. It's Aisha, her beloved maid. She is alive. The lady stares, utterly lost in a daze. The last time she saw Aisha, her hands were so cold. In her memories, she was confined to the lonely mansion. Her father was always burdened with worry. After her brother Alan's death, her mother lost her mind, and her own behavior spiraled into cruelty and violence. One by one, the other maids resigned and left. But Aisha alone remained by her side, even after her own engagement was broken. Aisha endured everything, all on her own. The lady remembers a fight on a rainy day. Aisha urged her to repent for her sins to live well. But she had lashed out, screaming in a rage, accusing Aisha of leaving her for another man, blaming her for everything that went wrong. A teacup shattered against the floor. Aisha stood frozen, unable to say a word. The lady's hand clenched into a tight, trembling fist. She delivered the cruelest words she could think of. "You aren't my maid anymore." She ordered Aisha to get out and never return. Later, people tried to stop Aisha from leaving, but she just smiled, saying she was going to church. She walked out into the downpour with a single gray umbrella. In the heavy rain, visibility was almost zero. She didn't see the carriage coming toward her. And just like that, Aisha was gone forever. Her face was hidden by lilies at the funeral. The memory felt like a dagger to the heart. "Aisha!" A scream snaps her back to reality. She shoots up in bed, panting, her heart racing. Aisha is leaning over her face etched with worry. "Young lady, are you all right?" The lady can only whisper her name. "Aisha?" She sees a stool knocked over on the floor. Aisha must have rushed to her side in a panic. She stayed this time. She didn't leave. The lady reaches out, her hand finding Aisha's cheek. It's so warm. Tears of pure relief stream down her face. "Aisha, you're still alive." Aisha smiles back, her own eyes glistening. She says she should be the one saying that. The lady basks in the moment, full of relief. Then, a sudden, urgent thought hits her. "What happened to Alan?" she asks, pointing suddenly. Aisha looks at her, confused about the young master. Tears well up in the lady's eyes. "I've changed his fate," she whispers, her voice trembling. Aisha grabs her hand, concerned by her dangerous words. She insists on calling a doctor immediately. The doctor holds her wrist, telling her not to be so upset. But the lady isn't listening. She's looking around the room. "Where's Aisha?" she asks. A new maid explains Aisha has been assigned another job. Her job is to be the personal maid for baby Alan. The lady remembers cradling her infant brother. He was safe and sound this time around. She breathes a sigh of relief. Aisha is safe with him. Everything is going to be all right. But her peace is shattered by a strict new maid. The maid places a bowl of bland food before her. The lady complains loudly, refusing to eat it. The strict maid simply says, "It's fine then." Before she can leave, the lady stops her. "Can you call Aisha for me?" The new maid's face hardens into a severe mask. She asks if the young maid has been forgiven. Forgiven? For what? The lady is confused. The maid reminds her how Aisha left her master unattended, how she put her own lady in harm's way. The lady's eyes flash with anger. "No, that's not what I think at all." A tiny, knowing smirk plays on the new maid's lips. Just then, the door creaks open. Aisha walks in, and the new maid goes pale. Her composure cracks, and she bows deeply to the lady. "I got fired," she announces, her voice breaking with false despair. The lady screams, her mind reeling. "What?" Lupina's face fills with pure, unadulterated shock. A single disbelieving question rips from her throat. "Why?" Her maid, Aisha, bows her head deeply. She says she has lost her qualification to serve her lady. She blames herself for putting her mistress in danger. Lupina can only stare, completely bewildered. Then her expression hardens with determination. She declares that she is the one who should be deciding. but the maid explains it was the Lord's decision. Lupina had kept calling for Aisha while she was unconscious. The words trigger a memory of another sad goodbye. Lupina thinks to herself that this wasn't Aisha's fault. No one could have predicted something like that would happen. A chilling thought grips her. If she lets Aisha leave, she might still die in an accident. Her tiny hand clenches into a tight fist. No, she can't let that happen. Tears of frustration stream down her face as she shouts, "I won't let you leave." Aisha looks up, her own eyes wide with surprise. A senior servant coolly states that it is the Lord's will. That's when Lupina absolutely erupts. She throws a full-blown temper tantrum on the floor. She screams that if she says Aisha's not going, she's not going. The observing maids can only stare in disbelief. Suddenly, a calm voice cuts through the chaos. The head maid stands there, smiling knowingly. Lupina is stunned to realize who the woman is. The head maid says she will come with them, but Lupina is already a blur of motion. "I'm going to talk to my father," she declares. She takes off at a full sprint down the ornate hallway. Aisha calls out her name, flustered and blushing. The head maid places a reassuring hand on Aisha's shoulder. She tells her the Lord won't be able to refuse his daughter now. She praises Aisha, calling her honest and hard-working. It would be difficult to replace someone so skillful. Meanwhile, Lupina's angry stomps echo toward the study. She doesn't knock. She barges right in, crying out for her father. The Duke looks up from his desk, startled by the intrusion. "Oh my," he says, recognizing his daughter. "It's Lupina." She marches right up to his desk, her face furious. She demands to know why he is firing Aisha. Her father's expression turns serious. He explains calmly that Aisha failed in her duties. As a result, he reminds her, they almost lost her. Once she has fully recuperated, Aisha will have to go. He states firmly that he will not discuss the matter further. Lupina clenches her fists, her knuckles turning white. She understands the circumstances, but she refuses to accept them. Tears of desperation well in her eyes. Her father watches, a question mark almost visible above his head. Lupina takes a deep breath and lets out a theatrical wail. She screams that no other servant will ever take care of her, and she promises to make a huge, unending fuss. She knows it sounds selfish, but she thinks to herself that this is her last resort. Her father and his attendants stare, their jaws on the floor. The Duke lets out a heavy sigh, utterly at a loss. Lupina presses on, arguing that Aisha never made a mistake before. She even came on her day off just to be with her. From the doorway, two maids peek in, terrified. Lupina's face twists into a wicked, conniving little smile. She asks her father if he's prepared for where she'll direct her anger. The maids behind the door gasp in horror. Her father's shoulders slump in utter defeat. A tiny, triumphant "Yay!" escapes Lupina's lips. Moments later, the head maid informs Aisha her dismissal is revoked. Aisha bursts into tears of pure, unadulterated relief. She bows low, thanking the head maid over and over. Later, back in her room, Lupina has collapsed from exhaustion. Aisha kneels beside her, her heart full of gratitude. She can't believe the young lady would go to such lengths for her. Lupina weakly says it was just a minor mistake. Then a bright, mischievous smile spreads across her face. "Besides," she adds cheekily, "getting used to a new maid is bothersome." Aisha stares, taken aback, then a warm smile touches her own lips. She vows to do her very best to serve her new mistress. But Lupina's expression turns serious once more. She tells Aisha that her atonement starts now. Aisha's smile falters, her expression clouded with confusion. Then she seems to understand, her face glowing with devotion. She clasps Lupina's hand, vowing to stay by her side. That night, Lupina lies awake in the moonlight. She glances at Aisha, sleeping peacefully beside her. Slipping out of bed for a walk, she sees a light from her father's study. She creeps to the door and listens, her blood running cold. She hears fragmented whispers of a failed plot, a nanny, poison, and a plan to frame Lupina for her own brother's murder. Her mind races, replaying the whispered words. Poison. It was always supposed to be poison. She grips her nightgown, her heart hammering. Oh my God. Was she meant to be a scapegoat in their plan? Or was she meant to die alongside her brother? The entire world feels like a conspiracy built to crush her. She stumbles away from the study, desperate for air. Down the corridor, a light gleams from the kitchens. A young chef turns, holding a covered dish. Lupina recognizes him. It's Steven, Aisha's fiancé. He sees her lingering in the shadows of the doorway. He asks the young lady what she's doing, up so late. She mumbles something about taking a walk. A loud growl suddenly echoes in the silent kitchen. Lupina freezes, mortified. A small, hopeful question escapes her lips. Do you have any snacks? Steven smiles, telling her she'll be the first to taste his new creation. He sets down a single slice of plain-looking cake. She takes a small bite, noting that it tastes a little plain. Suddenly, a voice shrieks from down the hall. There you are! Lupina jumps, startled, clutching her chest. Aisha bursts into the kitchen, panting and frantic. She demands to know why the young lady is with Steven. He calmly explains he was just showing her his skills. He reminds Aisha that she was the one who said Lupina likes sweets. Steven offers a piece of the cake to Aisha to calm her down. Without hesitation, she grabs it with her bare hands. She shoves the entire thing into her mouth. Lupina stares, her fork frozen mid-air. Whoa! Aisha then grabs a huge pitcher and starts chugging. Lupina's jaw drops. The entire pitcher? Wiping her mouth, Aisha sighs. Ah, that's delicious. But her eyes fill with tears as she looks at Lupina. She confesses she's just so immensely happy the young lady is safe. The guilt from the poisoning has been eating her alive. She feels she doesn't deserve her position anymore. Lupina watches her maid, truly seeing her pain. And in that moment, something inside her settles. She takes another bite of the plain, simple cake. A true smile spreads across her face. She declares that it's absolutely delicious. Her mind races back to the whispers she overheard. The poison wasn't meant for the baby food. It was intended for Alan, and she was to be the perfect scapegoat. With her reputation, everyone would have believed it. Her attendant cries, finally understanding the danger. The chef tries to lighten the mood with cake. He then lets them in on his secret. The delicious dessert was made with carrots. Liana looks utterly betrayed. She clenches her fists, declaring her hatred for vegetables. She can't believe she was tricked into eating them. The chef calmly explains it wasn't his idea. It was an order from her parents. Their words echo in her memory. Her daughter is very picky. We want her to have something nutritious. He looks at her gently, telling her they are worried, and that simple truth shatters her world. All this time, she thought she was unloved. A lonely villainess in a world that hated her. She realizes she wasn't unlucky at all. She was just completely oblivious. Huge tears begin to stream down her face. The chef thinks she's upset about the carrots. She covers her face, sobbing that it's not that. She's just so overwhelmingly grateful. Her attendant rushes to her side, squeezing her hand tightly. Through her tears, Liana makes a new promise. She won't be picky anymore. She'll take everything seriously and be a good girl. Her attendant pulls her into a fierce hug. They just hold each other and cry. Later, tucked into bed, Liana reflects. She has saved Aisha, Alan, her mother. She has changed the board entirely. An image of the prince flashes in her mind. Her small fist clenches beneath the sheets. To protect this fragile new piece, she understands she must let him go. She falls asleep, wishing him happiness from afar. Her father had called for her, his expression cheerful and oblivious. He wondered why she wouldn't visit the royal castle with him. He wanted to introduce her to a suitor, His Royal Highness, Prince Dominic. Lupina's face drains of all color. A silent scream builds in her chest. Not him, of all people, not him. This was the man at the very center of her past life's tragedy. She remembers being nothing but a nuisance to him and his true love. A wicked, arrogant woman destined for a miserable end. She had been a terrible person, and she couldn't forget it. This second chance was meant to be different. She had been studying, trying to learn how to be a heroine, desperate to escape the villainous path she was on. And just when she thought she'd found a way, her maid had burst in with unexpected news. Her uncle, Count Louv, had come to visit. Lupina went to greet him. her heart pounding. He was there with his young son, Alan. The Count gently passes the small child to her. She holds the baby, feeling the precious weight of a life in her arms. Her uncle, a man with a gift for business, also had many enemies. He was grateful for her family's help in a time of crisis. As a thank you, he announces he has brought her a gift. Lupina, who so rarely receives presents, is overcome with joy. Her delighted smile seems to light up the entire room. Moved by her reaction, the Count places a hand over his heart. He makes a solemn vow. He swears he will help her in her own time of need. Lupina's eyes widen in stunned silence. A slow, strategic smile spreads across her face. This was it, a real opportunity. She had just secured a powerful ally, a shield to help protect her from her predetermined fate. She clutches the baby close, a surge of hope flooding through her. She had just gotten her life back, and she would fight to keep it. But now, her father's words shatter that hope into a million pieces. He wants to tie her future to Prince Dominic. All her careful planning turns to ash in her mouth. It seems fate is determined to pull her back to the one man she must avoid. Her destiny as a villainess feels more certain than ever. A royal decree is delivered with grave importance. Lupina staggers back, her face a mask of shock. An engagement to Prince Dominic. Her mind spins, a storm of panic and disbelief. Not him. It can't be happening again. She knows this story all too well. The queen is ill, the princes are at odds, and she is just a pawn in their great game. In her first life, she was his promised bride, a powerless, insignificant girl from the country. But the prince gave his heart to another. Lupina was swiftly cast as the villainess, accused, condemned, and sent to her death. She remembers the jeering crowds and falling blade. After rewinding time again and again, she knows she cannot play their game. Back in the present, her family is deep in conversation. Her uncle has been bragging about his cute niece. Suddenly, there are marriage proposals from foreign kingdoms. The men see only political and economic potential. Her father dreams of his daughter making history. An idea sparks in Lupina's mind. A way out. She listens as they weigh the benefits of her future. One man wants to use her to clean up their family name. Another just sighs, exhausted by the constant scheming. Her own father muses about having another child. They see her as a valuable asset to be traded. The cold calculation makes her stomach turn. They never once bother to ask what she wants. She thinks to herself she's running away for sure. Let them build their fortunes on their own. She will leave that task to her younger sibling. She takes a deep breath, steeling her resolve. Her father is still speaking, trying to reassure her. He says she's still young, there's no rush to marry. But Lupina cuts straight through the noise. She announces she doesn't want to get engaged at all. Instead, she declares a brand new ambition. With a bright, determined smile, she raises a fist. She's going to the frontier to broaden her horizons. She wants to study. The entire room falls deathly silent. Her father and uncle stare, mouths agape in shock. Before they can recover, she makes her escape. "Well, excuse me," she calls, dashing from the room. The plan is in motion. Later, she stands by a carriage, ready to depart. She thinks of the past, of being someone's fiancé. Her personal maid, Stephen, begs to go with her. The maid worries about her leaving so suddenly, for a place so remote and far away. Lupina's heart aches with the words she can't say. Of course she wants her loyal friend by her side. But she can't take her. Not this time. A painful memory surfaces, sharp as glass. In another life, Stephen was her only ally. When Lupina was abandoned, her maid stayed. She remembers Stephen grabbing her hand, firm and sure, pleading with her to run, to not worry. Stephen had sacrificed her own life for Lupina's sake. It's a debt of love she can never truly repay. Tears well in Lupina's eyes as she looks at her friend. She tells the maid there's nothing interesting to write about. But Stephen just looks so grateful to see her alive. And that is exactly why she must be left behind. Lupina clenches her fists, her face hidden from view. She silently wishes for her friend to be happy. Happiness requires staying far from Lupina's cursed fate. The journey to her grandfather's estate is long. Escorted by knights, she finally arrives. The estate is massive, a fortress of influence. Her grandfather left politics long ago, but he remains a powerful, unavoidable figure. Crowds of people still flock to his gates. She takes a deep breath and steps forward. And then, she finally meets him. He stands at the bottom of a grand staircase, arms crossed. Lupina greets him. "Long time no see, grandfather." His expression is like stone. His first words are a harsh rebuke. He scolds her for arriving without a personal maid. The air crackles with tension between them. He demands to know why she's really here. He heard she was coming here to study. Lupina lets out a light, honest laugh. She admits that was just an excuse to get away. A knowing smirk plays on her grandfather's lips. He declares she'll enroll in the school for the gifted. He taunts her, saying it's fine if she can't keep up. Lupina just beams and declares, "Leave it to me." A year passes on her grandfather's estate. Lulu is now 9. She finds herself buried under stacks of complex paperwork. She thinks to herself that pretending to be a prodigy is reaching its limits. Exhausted, she finally slumps over her desk in utter defeat. Her new companions are a small comfort in her strenuous new life. The local boys were assigned by her grandfather as her babysitters, but the peace is shattered one afternoon in the library. Her friend Polly stumbles back, her face a mask of sheer terror. Tears stream down her cheeks as she struggles to form words. She covers her mouth, her eyes wide with fear. "A ghost!" She swears it's true, her voice shaking with conviction. She saw something blonde and fluffy at dusk near the window. Sam scoffs, suggesting it was just robbers peeking in. But the boys agree they should investigate this unknown presence. Polly cries that if they don't, she can't get any more books. Later that night, the children gather under a full moon. Lulu tries to calm Polly's nerves with a protective amulet. They sneak through the dark halls, trying not to get caught. They arrive at the old, secluded private study. One of the boys sighs, telling the ladies to go in first. Lulu finds herself shoved toward the heavy, creaking doors. She peers cautiously through the narrow crack. Inside, a glowing lantern sits beside an open picture book. The book brings back a flood of memories for Lulu. The prince had once recommended this very book to her. They realize the ghost must be a child reading at night. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes from a nearby room. The entire group freezes, startled by the noise. Lulu sends the quiet boy, Henry, to investigate. He approaches a large, ornate wardrobe at the end of the hall. He returns, claiming there was nothing there but a mouse. Just then, a towering shadow falls over them all. It's her grandmother, holding the very same lantern. She smiles sweetly, asking what they're all doing up so late. The next day, the children hear big news from town. A stranger has arrived, a child around their age. The child was seen getting into a carriage with her grandfather. The boy describes them as timid, with fluffy, blonde hair. The group stares at each other in stunned silence. The ghost Polly saw was the newcomer all along. Lulu's friends are excited for a trip to the farm. But she can't stop thinking about the mysterious new child. She wonders if this is another one of her grandfather's tests. One of the boys is practically vibrating with excitement. He shouts that they have to see how sugar is made from turnips. Lulu just lets out a weary sigh. He has such a sweet tooth. They all pile into the carriage, the kids chattering excitedly. Lulu stays quiet, lost in thought. Why is her grandfather being so secretive about this boy? The carriage finally stops before a grand, unfamiliar building. Her grandfather's own carriage is parked right outside. A farmhand explains that her grandfather is busy in the lab. As Lulu reaches for the door, a frantic voice shouts from inside. "Wait, hold on. Don't open it yet." Lulu freezes, her hand hovering in the air. What could he possibly be trying to hide from her? The door swings open anyway, revealing her grandfather. He smiles warmly, but Lulu has a very bad feeling. He gestures to a finely woven cloth on the table. He tells her it's the result of her hard work. It's a success, all thanks to the trust she put in others. Everyone gathers for tea and dessert to celebrate the small win. They raise their cups in a toast to the great Lady Lupina. But amidst the cheerful chatter, Lulu feels a sudden chill. She feels a pair of eyes fixed directly on her. Hiding behind a pillar, a small boy peeks out. Blonde hair, amethyst eyes. Her heart stops. She approaches him, her voice trembling slightly. She asks him for his name. He flinches, whispering a single word. Dominic. The name hits her like a physical blow. It really is him. She loses her temper completely, screaming at the boy. She asks him why he's hiding there like a frightened rat. Her grandfather rushes to her side, his hand on her shoulder. The entire room falls into a stunned, horrified silence. Later, she sits across from her grandfather in his office. He explains the boy is the relative of an old friend. He simply asks her to be courteous. Tears well up in Lulu's eyes. Were all her efforts since the regression completely in vain? Her grandfather then delivers a shocking order. As his successor, she must be the one to befriend Dominic. The next morning, a listless Lupina arrives without her books. She's avoiding any mention of the new student, Dominic. Sighing by a window, she suddenly freezes. She spots Dominic below, clutching a small stuffed animal. He sees her, panics, and immediately takes off running. "Wait!" she yells, chasing after him down the hall. She corners the boy, her attempt at a friendly greeting coming out as a boom. He flinches, utterly terrified. Lupina realizes she's acting on pure aggressive instinct. The boy stammers that he needs to get to class. She blocks his path, insisting they have a proper chat. Dominic's eyes fill with tears. He whispers he was told not to talk to strangers. The word, stranger, echoes in her mind. This timid child is nothing like the cold, resolute man she knew. The very same man who once broke her heart. She sees he dropped his toy and stoops to pick it up. At that moment, her friends appear, seeing the worst. They shout at her for bullying the new kid. "I wasn't," she yells, but her face tells a different story. A maid arrives and whisks the confused Dominic to safety. Lulu is left mortified, holding the stuffed animal. Later, she offers her friends a huge pile of money. They stare in disbelief, asking if it's a bribe. She blurts out that it's for Dominic's welcome party. It's a new plan. Proof she's not a villain. She finds Dominic reading alone, determined to return his toy. But her grandmother appears, teasing her relentlessly. Finally alone with him, she holds out the stuffed dog. Dominic looks up, a dazzlingly grateful smile on his face. The smile stops her heart. She invites him to the party. Then she sees his schoolwork, and is shocked he's so behind. She can't help but point it out, making him blush with shame. Realizing her mistake, she laughs and is promptly kicked out. She collapses in the hall, utterly defeated. Later, after a fall, Dominic finds her on the ground. He asks if she's okay, and her immediate impulse is to retreat. She feigns dizziness, then berates him for slacking off. She despairs, but then sees him asking to adopt a stray dog. His shy request is so earnest, she blurts out her permission. The pure joy that radiates from him is completely disarming. She clenches her fist, her resolve renewed. This party will be perfect.